The NFL has returned to London and the We Love Sport app is the best place to catch all the touchdowns and big plays no matter where you are, as well as a plethora of sporting action. Simply search We Love Sport on your preferred app store and get to know about the app that brings sports fans together for all sporting occasions. Right, so I'm here with Rich King and Lewis Wood. Hello chaps, welcome to the show.
Hello mate, thank you for having us.
Imagine you're explaining American football to a simpleton, which is essentially myself and our listeners. I very much categorise myself in that group. NFL's here in London. Tell us exactly what the aim of the game is, how it works, so we can all enjoy it when we come down and watch it at We Love Sport venue on a Sunday.
Yeah, so on a very basic level, all you're trying to do every time you take a snap on offence is get 10 yards. That's all you want to do. You have 4 tries to do it. They're called downs. If you don't get it by the 4th one, probably kick the ball away. It's called punting. Or if you're close enough, you can kick a field goal. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to get into the opposition end zone to score a touchdown.
There you go. Thank you very much for dealing with that gently and sensitively.
One thing to bear in mind though, they call it a touchdown. You don't actually have to touch the ball down.
Oh,
Okay? As long as it goes past, there's this line, and they say it spans the globe. So as long as you get the ball over the line, and you're in the air, it doesn't matter. You can that's a score. And it only has to be the smallest point of the ball as well.
It spans the globe.
Yeah. So if you jump out of touch, as long as you're still in the air, you get it over the line. You're good.
You could, in theory, if you were incredibly, incredibly athletic, jump 10 yards to the right, but with the ball over the line, and that's still a touchdown, as long as you haven't gone out of bounds, you haven't touched the floor yet.
This is what we need, more superheroes in sport. Right, thank you very much, chaps. You dealt with that very sensitively. I feel encouraged, and now like we all know more. Let's talk NFL London though. We were down there yesterday. Atmosphere was pretty amazing. Tons of different jerseys. It's very different to going to a UK sporting event because, I mean, it wasn't kind of just Jets Falcons fans. We saw every jersey under the sun. Is that kind of something that's typical of NFL London?
Yeah, it's like a party atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, you'll see everyone just comes to the games regardless of who they play. I mean, I'm a Packers fan, and I've been every year since the last, I think, 8 years. And Packers are the only team who's never been in the UK. So no doubt we'll do that when Aaron Rodgers has left. But I go down and I enjoy it because there's loads of people that I met through Twitter and things, and it's nice to put a face and a person to the name, so you know you're not being like catfished too badly. You know?
Well, we saw some amazing outfits yesterday. Obviously, kind of people with like Vikings fans with the helmets on and everything. People with cheese heads.
Yeah.
Someone I think, because I had to think, what is a Bronco? Somebody dressed as what I think a Bronco is. So with like a horse's head. Is that kind of typical of NFL, that kind of carnival atmosphere?
Yeah, you'll always get that at every single game, and you'll quite often have particular fans that are known at NFL games for dressing a certain way. You'll have really, really outlandish costumes that people will wear. But yeah, like Rich said, and in the States, you'll have such a huge party atmosphere around games with tailgating and everyone just having a great time. And it's really nice to see actually that really translates over to the UK when you have a bunch of NFL fans going down. Everyone's just in such a great mood to start with that it means that it doesn't actually matter if your team's playing. Everyone's just very happy to be at an NFL game. It's
a little bit harder to do tailgating on the Seven Sisters Road because they closed it for the roadworks. So it's not quite the same, is it?
No, it's not quite the same. I mean, some of the tailgating stories, I mean, are legendary. I mean, if you look at how the Buffalo Bills treat each other, they literally throw themselves through tables.
Right.
So this is, and then you have, more civilized tailgaters where, they're talking about their campers and RVs and the little barbecues and grills that they'll have. So you've got real mixes between them. But
tailgating is kind of getting the big American truck, sitting on the back of it, having some burgers and some beers, right?
Yeah.
Where does throwing yourself through tables come into it?
I don't really know. I think maybe it's the bad weather. Maybe they literally just they'll stand on the table and just jump through it. It's just I can't explain it.
I think it's just because Bills fans are insane.
Yeah,
I think that's all it is.
Yeah.
The Bills mafia.
But obviously, we don't really have that in the UK.
No.
Just get, you got the long walk up, and there's a couple of events and like challenges and things. So
yeah.
This reminds me, I've got a friend from New Zealand, and me and him once in the pub, and he said, he's like, "Oh mate, have you ever played possum?" And I was like, no, what's possum? He's like, possum's great, mate. It's a Kiwi game. So what happens is you get a crate of lager, you sit in a tree, and then the last person to fall out of the tree is the possum, so they win. So,
That sounds great.
I don't think
That
anybody
sounds fun.
wins.
No, I think that's a game where everybody loses.
Yeah.
Varying amounts.
And if you are from New Zealand, sorry, that's potentially libelous. So I'm not sure that's like every person in New Zealand. Right, so yesterday, potentially, tale of two quarterbacks. So Matt Ryan, tons of experience, of course. Zach Wilson didn't cover himself in glory. What did you make of the game?
I think you could actually tell the difference between their experience. So there was a couple of times where you could tell the Jets were going to be all-out blitz on Matt Ryan. And he stands there, he's confident, he's composed, and he takes the ball and then he just gets the ball away quickly. Whereas Wilson sometimes seemed like a bit of a deer in the headlights. So when it was obvious that the Falcons were going to blitz, he got the ball and was, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Someone please be free.
And even sometimes when there were wide open receivers, you can just see that Matt Ryan knows exactly where the ball has to go, and it's often spoken about putting the ball in a place where only your receiver can get it. And Zach Wilson liked to do the opposite of that quite a lot. I know he's thrown, I think it's now, is it 8 or 9 picks in his first 5 starts? I think it's 9 now after yesterday. But there was a throw that I remember that Denzel Mims had run a curl route, and he was just stood in a hole in the zone, and Wilson got it to him, but Mims was stood completely still, and he had to dive for the ball.
Yeah.
You're just looking at that about, okay, yes, he can make those huge throws, the really, really exciting off-schedule stuff sometimes, but that should be a quarterback's bread and butter of throwing the ball really simply to a receiver's chest who's wide open.
But this guy's second draft pick, right? So he can do this stuff. It kind of speaks to him maybe being a little bit spooked.
I think potentially, I think, and I wasn't the hugest fan of Wilson coming out of college. I think there's, in the NFL at the moment, Patrick Mahomes has convinced every team that the most important thing is getting a quarterback who can make things happen off schedule and can make the really magical moments happen. And I think that's what the Jets saw a bit of through his tape at BYU. And you think, okay, well, he can make some huge things happen, but if he can't, get the ball out on time to a receiver quickly, if you can't make those really, really simple throws, it doesn't matter if you can do like the bomb down the field 60 yards once a game, because you're going to be 20 points down by that point.
Yeah, and I mean, let's talk about the Jets actually, because we met some Jets fans yesterday. We met, what were they called? It's like Bobby and Mikey from New York. He's like 50-year Jet fans. Come on, let's do this. But the Jets are one of the most long-suffering teams in the NFL, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they've had a very tough time, and do things look like getting better for them at the moment?
I think the signs are there. That because you have to remember, it's a multi-year project to turn a team around from being no hopers to being able to be in the playoffs. Yeah. And there are signs that it's the young players that they've got, some of the younger core that they've got, they're good. You've got Zach Wilson, Michael Carter looked good, Mims looked like he could get free. Corey Davis, who was a free agent signing, he looked good. On defense, they've got those guys as well. So,
yeah, they've got some really exciting players. I think having Robert Saleh, the new head coach, coaching Quinnen Williams and John Franklin Myers on defense, I think that's a really, really good pair on the D-line. There are signs that things could, turn around for them, and there's things that you can look at, but it is very much a case of going, maybe in 3 years, maybe 2 years at best. Things haven't been good to start out this season, but you actually should assume that a rookie is going to make huge mistakes to start off his career. It'd be naive to think otherwise.
Yeah.
But also you look at someone, for example, like Trevor Lawrence, who was the first pick, right? Mm-hmm. So, he's not had the same problem, really. He looks like he could potentially be the best rookie quarterback in a generation.
He looks good, and you can see the real flashes. He is making some of the same mistakes as Zach Wilson. You've seen a couple of the picks that he's thrown that you can see exactly that he's been spooked by what he's seeing on defense, or he's just not made the right read. Lawrence is adapting a little bit quicker. The game yesterday, you could really see some of the things that made him go first overall. But Trevor Lawrence is kind of different because he's been spoken about as the saviour of the NFL since he was in high school. So that's kind of a very different quarterback prospect.
That's a lot of pressure for a young kid.
It is a lot of pressure. And one thing to bear in mind, maybe your listeners aren't aware of, is the team with the first pick are the worst team.
Yeah.
It's literally like going, and I'm going to show my lack of football knowledge here, right? But It's literally like saying, right, let's take Kevin De Bruyne and let's just put him in Watford's team.
Yeah. I'd watch that.
And let's just see how this unfolds. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you can't just put him in there and then all of a sudden it's a massive improvement. I mean, there's loads of things that you need to bear in mind. And I think one thing that Trevor Lawrence doesn't have in the same way as you might hope is the offensive line is not giving him protection.
No.
So to put this into perspective, as soon as you snap the ball, you've got 5 guys in front of you that are trying to save you from being crushed by people whose only job it is to bury you in the ground. Okay, and these guys they're not small. They might look small on the field because they're all monsters compared to each other. But you're talking these guys are, you know, they'll be like 6'5" and
They're not normal men.
and
Yeah.
they're like JJ Watt, who plays for the Cardinals. He used to do like a ton tire flip, and he used to do like 100 after training. This is the type of guy you're going up against.
Yeah.
So it's very much a case of get the ball, get it out. Please don't kill me.
And Matt Ryan, I think I'm right in saying, became the second fastest quarterback to get to 5,000 completed passes. Where does he kind of rank in the pantheon of NFL quarterbacks?
To me, he feels very much like almost like the average quarterback. Like he is the worst starter that I'd be happy with.
That's quite interesting because I mean he's won an MVP. He took them to a Super Bowl, but at this point, I agree with you that I think I'm happy with Matt Ryan. He's probably not going to lose me a season.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to win one by himself. I think the Falcons Super Bowl run, without talking about the Super Bowl itself, that's a different matter. You know, they looked really good. He was a really good player. I think he's, you know, there's should be no talk of Hall of Fame for Matt Ryan when he retires in the next few years, but
He'd be in the Hall of Very Good.
yeah.
Right?
That's next to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. It's like you got the big Hall of Fame building, looks amazing, bronze statues of your face and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the Hall of Very Good is like the shed next door, where it's like you've got the medals from like.
Were you going somewhere and you're going to the wrong car park?
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
It's all very good.
And you're like, no, it's actually across the road.
Yeah.
Dolphins Jags next weekend. So Florida Derby. What can we expect?
I'm quite excited. I think it's always quite fun when you get two teams that aren't particularly good.
Yeah.
and that's really what you've seen from the Dolphins and Jags so far. And they both have very susceptible defenses, but actually potentially looking at they could match up with each other's weaknesses. I really like James Robinson, the running back on the Jags, and the Dolphins' run defense is absolutely terrible. And I quite like the wide receivers on the Dolphins, and the Jag secondary is terrible. So you could be in for something quite high scoring. It might be quite fun. It'll be good to see the quarterback battle. That said, you could also be in for kind of a defensive slugfest with both teams not being able to move the ball. So
I think the game. I'm really excited about it. I mean, for me, it's probably the one that I was most excited for when they announced them. So you've got Trevor Lawrence, who is the saviour of the NFL, and Tua Tagovailoa. There you go. That's in the tennis.
We can just call him Tua.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll go with Tua.
Yeah.
So you got Tua, who was also a high draft pick last year, and he's looked good in patches. I mean, it's one of those things where I think I just want two teams that are quite evenly matched, and I don't mind if they're right at the top or right at the bottom. I want an even game. I don't want when the Jags used to come over a couple of years ago, and it was like the Dallas Cowboys versus the Jags. It's like, yay, it's 40 points to 3. It's not a very good game to watch. But these games now, I think they'll be pretty closely matched. And a couple of guys to look out for. On the Dolphins side, you've got Jalen Waddle, who was the first round pick for the Dolphins, who was best mates with Tua in college.
Okay.
So they're like,
Got the telepathy.
And then and then for the Jags, you've obviously got Robinson, and you've got
I quite like Marvin Jones.
Marvin
I saw
Jones
you really, and the Jags, and they've got, and so you pause.
I was going to say Chenault because I love Chenault.
Yeah.
But
Urban Meyer doesn't.
No,
So
I think for whatever reason, but I think Marvin Jones really had a renaissance.
Yeah.
From moving over from Detroit, so he he looks to be their lead receiver right now, and he's one guy to keep your eye on.
There was a lot of talk before the season, especially coming in with Trevor Lawrence as like a fantasy analyst and someone that focuses on fantasy football, about who the Jags' number one receiver was going to be. DJ Chark's unfortunately out for the year, and then Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault. It looks like it's Marvin Jones, although I think the answer is potentially none of them. But Marvin Jones, he's starting to develop a bit more of a connection with Trevor Lawrence. Marvin Jones is, I think, like a 7 or 8 year vet of the league. So having someone with his experience helping Trevor develop is got to be really important for him.
But if people are trying to play fantasy football, right, who are the players they should be looking out for? Who are the exciting players?
And in this matchup, I think James Robinson is going to have an absolute field day on the Dolphins' run defense. It depends as well, I think, because Devontae Parker, who's a wide receiver on the Dolphins, missed the game yesterday. I actually really like him. He's a nice contested catch player going over the top of players, and he seemed to, he had a 2 touchdown performance the week before. He was a really good player, but if he's playing, I would definitely start him in fantasy. Jalen Waddle also is a nice player to throw in, just because he's so quick. Any time he touches the ball, he might take it 80 yards. He might. And
that's what people want to see, isn't it? If you're watching NFL, and if you've not watched much of it, that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
Those amazing touchdowns. Rich, what players excite you generally in the NFL?
So players, I like players that they're electric.
Yeah.
When they get the ball in their hands, you just don't know what's going to happen. So for me, one guy that I've really liked this season is Rondale Moore so far with the Cardinals. So every year, there's always one guy in the draft that they always say, this draft's Tyreke Hill.
I knew that was what you were about to say.
It happens every year. So Tyreke Hill is this really exciting player, uber fast. We're talking Olympian fast.
Yeah.
And he has the ability to just break a tackle and then he's gone. Good luck. Yeah. And every year there's always been, this is this season, and it's never happened. And this year, it seems like it's Rondale Moore, and he's actually really doing it. So the way that the offense, they're trying to just give him the ball whenever they can, because if you've got that exciting player who can do anything, you give them the ball, don't you, just to see what they can do. Yeah. So he's one guy who's really, really impressed me so far this season. The veterans who have stepped up. I mean, there's a couple of guys.
I was going to talk about Mike Williams. I think is a really exciting one as well. Yeah.
It's always interesting how they always step up in the contract year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
So when they sign their rookie deal, it's very much set in stone as to what they're going to get paid.
Yeah.
And then they get towards the end of their contracts, and then it's like, we're in our contract year. I just happened to have put up the best season I've ever done.
I was really good, by the way, in case you wanted to re-sign me for kind of, 15 million a year or something like that.
Well, I mean, I've seen ballers. So basically what happens, they get on the phone to The Rock, who says, you need to play better. That's pretty much what happens.
I imagine so,
if the Rock's doing your negotiations, I think you're sorted, really.
No, I think you'll be fine,
Just pay him more.
100%.
Yeah.
Walks in, this is my agent. It's like, whatever you want. Absolutely.
Just not the face.
Mike Williams is, and that's another way the player can be really, really exciting, is he is a gigantic receiver on the Chargers who he doesn't care about his own body. So he's a huge contested catch guy, loves going over the top of players, and every time he hits the ground, you look and you go, if that was me, I'd probably have died.
I'd be dead.
He falls on his shoulders or on his neck or something, and he just gets up and carries on. And he has been absolutely going off this year. Justin Herbert looks incredible, the quarterback on the Chargers, and has a really, really strong arm, loves throwing it deep to Mike Williams. And for fantasy, he's been unbelievable. I think he's either the wide receiver. I think he might be the wide receiver 1 now after yesterday's performance.
I'm not logged them, but he could well be. I mean, one guy we both overlooked actually played yesterday, Carl Pitts.
Yeah.
So he was taken in fourth selection in the first round. So a lot of high hopes for him. Highlight plays are all there. The YouTube ability, as I call it, it's all there. And
anyone looks great when you watch a YouTube reel.
Not me. Particularly the 5-side.
Hey man, you'll get your shot in the NFL one day, I believe.
Yeah, if everyone else is unavailable.
Maybe a kicker.
That's the dream.
So Kyle Pitts has struggled in the opening weeks of the season. Yesterday, I really think we saw him turn a corner. Now, part of that is going to be the fact that Calvin Ridley didn't even fly with the team, right? So he is now their lead receiver, and he didn't fly with the team for personal reasons. I've not seen anything more about it.
Yeah, that's all I've seen.
But Kyle Pitts, he's just one of those guys who you see on the field, and you just think like, he's just different.
Yeah.
Just different. You can't quite put your finger on it. But when he got the ball in his hands, he's looking for a gap. He's looking to make yards.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, it's a mentality thing as well. Like when you know you're going to be making contact, you get some players who are frightened by the contact, who just curl up like, please don't nail me into the ground. Whereas he's like, I'm going into this.
What's it?
You have to earn the right to put me down to the ground.
Yeah, I'm bigger than you, and I'm stronger than you, and I'm faster than you. Have fun. Have fun trying to stop me. There was a one-handed catch for him. He obviously scored his first NFL touchdown yesterday, which I genuinely think there's a chance it's something that we'll be talking about in 10 years, that we were there for his first touchdown.
I hope so.
But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a one-handed catch at the sideline that you just saw, and even from the stands, maybe not in fantastic seats, you can just look and go, that player is on a different level to anyone else on the field right now.
And do you guys, obviously, because of the way the system works and people coming through college and that kind of thing, do you guys keep an eye on the college players and who's coming through and who to look out for?
Yeah, so a lot of the articles that I'll write in terms of fantasy football are dynasty based. So it's about actually drafting rookies to your team each year. So I'll normally try and keep an eye throughout the college season. I'm trying to get into college football. It's quite difficult as a UK fan because it's so alien to anything else over here.
Yeah.
But keeping an eye on kind of who the best prospects are and who's making the splash plays is a really exciting thing. And it means that when it comes to the draft, and the draft is fascinating and a really, really fun few days as well, it means that you know what's going on, and you can, I'm a Rams fan. We haven't had a first round pick in about 4 years. We don't have another one for the next 3. So I have to find some way to entertain myself on draft night. So knowing actually who's going to be drafted, where they might go, what's going to be happening is a really exciting thing.
But you're right, it's crazy for someone in the UK, for example, to be thinking like, okay, someone's coming out of university, but they're a superstar celebrity.
Yeah.
Ready to kind of sign a multi-million pound contract. It's like someone playing on your university rugby team and being like, that guy is going to get a 10 million pound contract. It's just, it doesn't really compute for us, does it?
It's really weird, but you have to bear in mind, these college teams as well, they're playing in front of
80,000
massive
people.
audiences.
Yeah, it's mental.
Often bigger stadiums than in the NFL for college.
Yeah, it's such a tribal thing. I went to a college game over in America, and you're just like, sometimes you think I could root for the other team. Just to be a bit different.
Yeah.
I was thinking, if I root for the other team, I'm not getting out of there.
Yeah.
And I'm not a small guy. I've played rugby since I was 8. And I was just thinking, this is just Lynch mentality. 100%.
Yeah. Where were you?
I was at a Gators game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So did you see Pitts?
I didn't see Pitts.
Oh, okay.
This was before he was there. But it was one of those where you're like, if I don't root for the Gators, I don't know if I'll leave.
Yeah. It's a completely different atmosphere. And that's why you often see kids coming into the NFL, the rookies coming into the NFL, and potentially struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Like what we were talking about earlier with Zach Wilson, is they're really not used to not being the best player on the field every time they touch the field. So Trevor Lawrence hadn't lost a game since high school in the regular season, and then has lost his first 4 straight on the Jags.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see how you then cope with losing when you've not done it in potentially 4 years. How does that affect your mentality to suddenly deal with being on a bad team?
Well, that's sport, right? Isn't it? It doesn't go your own way the whole time.
Yeah.
How much of an element does obviously a massive one, but in terms of coaching, when you talk about football, when you talk about rugby or cricket, you get very innovative coaches and managers who have a huge impact on their team and kind of pioneer new practices or whatever. Lewis, is there a kind of similar sort of people in the NFL?
Absolutely, and I would say to a significantly higher level of impact than in football, because it's individual plays on offense and defense. You can do so many fun and different things, and what you're really trying to do each play is something that the other team isn't expecting and something that they can't stop. So you do get coaches that do really innovative things. You always get people bringing different things to the NFL every single year. You'll see someone doing something, whether it's like Brandon Staley's defense last year or whether it's another trick play from Sean Payton on the Saints or something. You'll get someone will do something completely different. On the flip side, when a team is badly coached, like the Jaguars, you can really, really tell. It makes such a huge difference that you can see, first of all, that the players don't want to play for their coach, but also that if they're playing on offense, the defense knows what they're doing. You can see what play they're about to call, and you know exactly how to stop it.
So, Rich, who are the best and worst coaches in the NFL right now?
I mean, Urban Meyer has to be down there with the worst, right? So he's actually the Jags coach. So that's not really good for like saying, "Oh, come and watch the game."
We look forward to welcoming him to London next week.
I'm sure he's looking forward to.
He's listening on the plane. So,
I mean, to be honest, there is a not insignificant chance that he'll be gone by the time the London game happens.
Yeah, it could well have happened. I mean, there's been like an off-field incident, which I guess we won't really get into, but let's just say he's not been well behaved, and so. I mean, he's struggled anyway. He was a long-time college coach.
Yeah.
And he's come into the NFL.
So he's like a legendary college coach, right?
Yeah, like legendary. Like you're talking like the Sir Alex Ferguson of college coaches.
Yeah. And he's really struggling in the NFL. Why is that? If they're playing in front of huge crowds anyway, what's the difference?
It's an entirely different way of coaching. A lot of the time as well, when you're looking at college coaches, sometimes the more important thing for them is actually the recruitment side of things. So it's making sure that you're getting the players out of high school and getting these incredible athletes coming through. And I think Urban Meyer, we're seeing that maybe that was the bigger thing in his game than the actual coaching side. And I think as well also, with what we're talking about, like the tribal nature of college football, the coach is a big star as well. They're a huge part of that. I think college coaches are often paid more than NFL coaches as well. I think he's not really used to not winning all the time and having the crowd absolutely adore him. And suddenly it's not going so well. And I think he'll be gone by the end of the year.
I mean, I think for me, it's almost like if I was going to explain in terms of like football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's almost like the college game for me is almost like the Premier League in that you're all trying to recruit the top players and top management. And then the NFL is almost like international.
Yeah.
So you get managers who they're really good at the club game. As soon as they step up into internationals, all of a sudden they can't select all of the players they want because they're limited. Obviously, in football you're limited to the nationalities, but in here you're limited to the players that you can physically bring in the building, and you kind of have to work with what you've got to a much larger degree. So you see some coaches they just can't do it.
So who's the best coach in the NFL?
It really hurts me to say this, right? Because I'm sat next to a Rams fan. For me, I'm going to say Sean McVay because he was the youngest head coach.
Yeah, he was.
So he started out being the wide receivers assistant coach in Washington, right? So because the wide receivers coach, he needs an assistant. He's just snowed under
naturally,
right? So he started off at that level. So you're talking like. This is almost like the assistant goalkeeping coach.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's just worked, almost like Jose Mourinho, I guess.
The translator.
Right? With a translator, and then he works his way up, right? And it's like that. So step. And the way that he moves offenses and things like that, like, he really has defenses guessing. Like, I mean, in the NFL, you're talking a typical play from snap to the ball ending up. It's what? I mean, like 6 seconds maximum?
Yeah.
So if you can create 1 or 2 seconds of the defender going, I don't know what I'm doing, that's a massive chunk of time in that play. And that's what Sean McVay has done for years.
What's really, really nice about him, because I'd like to agree that I think Sean McVay, what's really, really nice about the way he coaches is he loves to, I was going to say learn, but it's also steal things from other offenses. So a couple of years ago, the Rams played the Baltimore Ravens and got absolutely blown out. We were really, really terrible. We lost by multiple touchdowns. And then in the next few weeks, you saw the Rams starting to use things that the Ravens used in their running game. That he's gone, oh, okay, I've been shown up by this. well, I should be doing that then, and I should make that my own. And he'll constantly adapt to whatever's working in the NFL. It's not so much a case of, this is the way I want to play football. He's so innovative. Yeah, like Rich is saying, you're doing so many things before the snap, at the snap. As a defense, you're looking and going, I have no idea where the ball's about to go.
But that's what all great sports coaches do, right? They're not too proud to learn.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think like with pride really comes before a fall with that kind of thing. Let's talk. You're a Rams fan, right?
Yeah.
So how did you become a Rams fan?
So I always find it really interesting about how UK fans start to support a team. For me, it was because my brother's a Rams fan, but the reason he was because he started playing, and he started playing defensive line.
Right.
And when he was trying to choose a team, was like, well, I'll just pick whoever the best defensive lineman is, which is Aaron Donald. Although I've not been clear whether it's the best defensive lineman in the league currently or of all time, which I think it's both with Aaron Donald. And then genuinely, when I started getting into NFL, I was like, I'll just take your team then. And it's quite funny as well, because when I started supporting the St. Louis Rams, then very bad, very, very bad. When I said I was going to start supporting the Rams, he was like, oh, don't, you shouldn't. And now we're really, really good. I don't know where we are on the odds currently, but one of the favourites for the Super Bowl this year.
And Rich, obviously you're a Packers fan. How did you come to be a Packers fan?
As soon as you asked that question, I was kind of dreading it, because I knew the question was going to come to me, right?
This is why, because I heard you earlier.
Yeah, so I wish I had a really cool story, but literally, so my brother, we've got into American football through playing Madden.
Great game.
Which is a great game.
Yeah.
And he was a Patriots fan, and he'll claim that he wasn't, but Chris, I know you 100% were a Patriots fan, okay? So he used to go Patriots best team on the game. And I needed a team that I could have an outside chance with, right?
Yeah.
So I chose the Packers because they were good at Madden, and I liked that 70s show from when I was growing up, and they were all Green Bay fans. So I wish I had a much better story, but that's literally it.
That's as good a reason as any. The way I discovered Orlando Magic in the NBA was I literally saw an Orlando Magic branded basketball, and I was like, those colours look cool. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's nothing better. That's it. That's the punchline.
Yeah, of all of my mates that follow the NFL, I've got like one that is because he grew up in Detroit, so he follows the Lions, and I feel very bad for him about that. And then you've got the friends who it was because the team shared the same name as their ice hockey team. I've got a friend who the Rams were playing the Seahawks, so he was like, I guess I'm a Seahawks fan now, and now has been for years. Like, you really have to, if you don't have any particular connection with the team, you really just have to find the reason you want to support one and then double down on it for the rest of your life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, once you're in, you're in.
Exactly.
You're stuck with it forever. That's it. Like, partners come and go, but your sports team does not.
I mean, I'm married, so I'm saying I won't agree with that bit. The sentimentality of me being
Packers
a
or wife? Yeah.
I mean, this is being recorded, and she might watch it, so I don't want to.
I'll say that the same with my girlfriend, because she'll probably be watching as well. So
yeah,
official, but if they don't. Right. Yeah. So, Rich, we've talked about Trevor Lawrence as a generational talent at QB. Do you think he has the potential to make Sundays great again for the Jags?
I mean, he certainly has the talent, and being selected number one, he has that ability to be able to make any play a highlight play. He has that ability with his legs and with his arms. So, I would agree.
Lewis, what do you think?
Yeah, the Jags haven't won in a very long time. I think it's 20 games now, which is funny because the last time they won, after the game, they tweeted 1-0 is not enough at the beginning of last season, and they haven't won since then.
It's not really not enough.
It was more than enough. They haven't won in a very long time, and I know a few Jags fans that, they really think this is the start of something great for them. I think he does. I think he has the potential to kind of change the franchise back into a winning franchise again.
Awesome. Right, guys, I'm going to let you start your own franchise. Okay, so Lewis, we'll start with you. You start your own franchise, and you're starting with your quarterback. Who are you going with, Tua or Trevor Lawrence?
It's not even a question for me, unfortunately. It's Trevor Lawrence. Even just looking at college, if you were just going to take their college careers and not anything you've seen so far in the NFL, Trevor Lawrence was the generational prospect all throughout college and throughout high school as well. And Tua was, he was a good prospect. And there was talks about him in the 2020 draft being the number one overall pick for a while, until he then got injured and Joe Burrow absolutely exploded. But I haven't seen too much out of Tua in the NFL to make me think that he's a future starting quarterback and a good starting quarterback. And I'm not sure the Dolphins have either. They don't seem 100% convinced by him. You keep hearing rumblings about trading for someone else, or you heard a rumbling about them potentially drafting someone this year. And I think he's fine, but he's had two big injuries, or two injuries in the NFL, along with a huge hip injury in college. I'm a little bit unconvinced. Trevor Lawrence, fantastic prospect in college. You've seen flashes from him so far. I think he's going to be a really good player.
Rich, how about you?
I was going to say Trevor Lawrence, but now I think I'm just play devil's advocate.
He's talked you. He's opposite, reverse talked you.
I'm going to go Tua because I just think, for me, I'm not convinced that the Dolphins have really allowed Tua to do what he's good at. It's the same as if you sign Lionel Messi and then you're like, right, we're going to use him as a target man.
Yeah, right? We'll sit you in goal.
Yeah, I'm going to put you in your position, but I want you to win headers.
Yeah,
that's what I want. It's so for me, I think they need to kind of change how they call plays and let him run.
Yeah,
because that's what he's good at. He's good at seeing that there's not something on and running with his legs. And they've not really done that. They've tried to keep him in the pocket, and it's almost like removing someone's star ability. And saying, well, why can't you do these other things that you're not so good at?
Yeah, I worry a little bit because I agree with you that you've seen they've been playing very, very okay. We're going to dink and dunk short passes down the field. I worry whether or not the injuries will have affected his willingness to get out of the pocket and his willingness to run and get into contact, just mentally.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a case. But I mean, he's from a traditional South Pacific family, and having watched rugby for years, those boys are something else. Yeah. Right. So I think as soon as he goes through that first hit and then stands back up, I think he'll be okay.
And Rich, we're going to put you on the spot now. Your MVP and Super Bowl predictions.
Ooh, my MVP for this season is probably going to be. I kind of want to say Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Because he's just playing so well. Like that Cardinals team, we were talking about it as a multi-year project. That Cardinals team, they've put it together over a couple of years, but now they're firing.
I got a soft spot for them after watching All or Nothing.
Yeah.
This is the thing, right? So but I have some friends actually talking about All or Nothing who are Cardinals fans because of All or Nothing, right? And Kyler Murray, he was a first round selection 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And they've built the team around him to do exactly what I was saying with Tua. They've built the team around him to do the things that he's good at. He's good at running and making those big flashy highlight plays. And now, actually, I'm going to say Super Bowl as well because they've actually now got that defense now. Yeah. With some really solid. They've got playmakers at each level, and let's not forget they signed JJ Watt in the off season. Who everyone's saying they were off on him, and I was like, it's difficult to really make an impact when you're literally the entire defense. Yeah. And people were triple teaming him at times to stop him getting through to their quarterback. And occasionally he still would. He's that good. Occasionally he'd still get there. The guy's crazy. So I'm going to say now, I've talked myself into it. I've gone, I wasn't sure on my MVP, and now 100% is Kyler Murray, and 100% is the Cardinals to win it all.
Who do you think they'll beat in the Super Bowl? Who do you think from the AFC?
I mean, it's difficult to look past the Bills right now. So we saw the Bills just beat the Chiefs, who 2 seasons ago, it was going to be, this is the Chiefs for the next 10 years. Yeah. And then Josh Allen really improved his fundamentals, really stepped up, and now he's kind of leading that team to do, and it's I'm going to say the exact same thing. It's the team have built around him to do what he's good at. He's a big guy. He's got a big arm. Let's get guys that go downfield. Let's allow him space to run the ball, move the chains. And I mean, it can't be a surprise that if you get your most important player comfortable and give him the weapons that he needs to succeed, that you start seeing success. Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah,
Lewis,
of course.
MVP and Super Bowl predictions. Have you been talked into it? Because that was pretty convincing. That felt like an election speech.
As a Rams fan, I refuse to say anything positive about the Cardinals on camera, and they beat us. They're the only undefeated team in the league. Like it's a completely fair thing to say at this point. And Kyler Murray's playing out of his mind. I'm going to go something a little bit different for MVP, and I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. We've seen a little bit of a pattern. 2 of the last 3 years, the MVP's been a second-year quarterback. Justin Herbert was rookie of the year last year, offensive rookie of the year last year, and broke the rookie passing record, as rookie passing touchdown record. People were saying, okay, maybe there'll be a bit of regression, a sophomore slump a little bit. No, absolutely not. The guy's playing out of his mind this year, and very similar to Josh Allen, actually, I think, in terms of very big guy, huge arm, likes to run. The Chargers are starting to win the games that historically, as a cursed franchise, they would normally lose, last night against the Browns especially. And I think we're seeing some really, really special play out of Justin Herbert. I think he's my pick for MVP, and that's not just because I have some money on it. In terms of the Super Bowl, I have to go with... I'm going to say the Rams get to the Super Bowl again, and I think we're going to lose to the Bills. I just, aside from the slip-up week 1 against the Steelers, Josh Allen has been playing unbelievably, and watching the game last night, I can't see how anyone can stop that offense, and the defense is playing lights out as well. I really think the Rams have a shot this year. I think Matt Stafford's playing incredibly. Sean McVay is obviously doing fantastic work. The defense is regressing a little bit from we were the #1 overall defense last year, and it doesn't quite look the same this year. So I do think we'll get to the Super Bowl. I have to think so. I have to believe so. But I think the Bills will win it all.
And let's get your prediction for next weekend. Dolphins taking on the Jags. What's your prediction?
I think the Jags are going to win it, but not by much.
Rich?
I thought you were going to say Dolphins, because to me it's a no-brainer for the Dolphins to win.
Really?
Yeah, genuinely. I think that let's not forget, last season their defense was actually, it was decent.
Really,
right?
really good.
And they've got a lot of those same players. So I can't see, they say, form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah.
At some point I've got to believe that this defense is going to get fiery.
I think
And against Trevor Lawrence, who's really, as we said, he struggled at the start of the season. I really think that we could see them ask questions that he doesn't know the answer to.
Yeah.
And if they get the upper hand, I think we could really see the Dolphins walk away with it.
Yeah, and I suppose what I was thinking about is I think James Robinson is going to run all over the Dolphins, but actually I'm remembering who is the coach of the Jaguars, and maybe I have a little bit less faith in them.
If he's still there.
If he's still there by the end of the week. But no, I think the Dolphins have a few weak points that the Jags can potentially target, and I think if Trevor Lawrence continues the way we've seen in the last couple of weeks, I think there is the potential for a bit of an upset.
And the final, really important question, who would win in a fight between a Dolphin and a Jaguar?
On land or in water?
Well, this is the question, isn't it? Because on land, it's a Jaguar.
Jaguar.
But is it in water?
And I see, right. Now we can talk about this, right? This is the type of stuff that I genuinely think about on a daily basis, right? So I know the answer, right? It's going to be a Jaguar.
In water?
Even in water, right? Do you know why?
I agree, yeah.
Dolphins, they're just too nice.
Yeah, what weapon does a dolphin
If
have?
we're talking like killer whales,
Yeah, then maybe.
they do it all day long.
Big
right?
teeth.
But we're talking dolphins, right? They're nice. Like, you saw Ace Ventura. Like, he's just like cuddly and like nice, and like Jaguar, that's gonna be mean.
Yeah, Jaguar's not a fish.
As soon as he get that bite,
Science.
Yeah.
nor's a dolphin.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Mammal. There you go. Right? So, a Jaguar, so you've got those teeth. You get one bite in, it's game over.
So there we go. I think that means Jags for the win.
Science.
Listen, Lewis, Rich, thank you very much, guys. It's been really good fun. Look, thank you for tuning in to the latest We Love Sport podcast. Download the We Love Sport app to book your place to catch all the NFL London games action, as well as a haven of other sporting spectacles. See you next time.